This week's 1044 is brought to you by Chevron Delos 600 ADF Ultra Low Ash Diesel Engine Oil. It's time to kick some ash. On this week's 1044, we take a look at tapping military veterans to put high-quality, high-performing drivers in the seat. Hey everybody, welcome to the 1044, a weekly webisode from the editors here at CCJ. I'm Jason Cannon and my co-host on the other side is Matt Cole. The U.S. Census Bureau estimates that about 10% of all professional truck drivers in the U.S. today are military veterans, and that's likely going to be on the rise. Military veterans were identified by the Biden administration late last year as a vast pool of would-be employees that could help unkink the supply chain.
Veterans Employment and Training Service, a division of the Department of Labor, works to connect veterans and their spouses with potential post-military careers. The agency, working alongside partners like Fastport, already facilitates transitions into trucking and logistics careers, but the Biden administration is working to refocus the transportation industry as a priority. Some carriers have more success recruiting from this base than others.
Chris Bell, onboarding manager for Bridgeview, Illinois-based Nova Lines, said about 25% of the company's 300 drivers are former military, but that number grew organically. He said Nova Lines does publish YouTube videos promoting the carrier as a veteran-friendly company, but the company mostly lets its military-themed trucks and its current driver force do the talking.
The guy, like for instance, who drives our Army truck and the guy who drives our Navy truck, they're both retired Army and Navy. They did their 20 plus years. And they love it here. They love our style. They say that they feel it's like the closest kind of home that they've felt since they've been out of the military. It's not that we're making them do pictures from the parking lot or anything like that, but we try to keep everything as scheduled and regulated as possible through the company. And I think that works for them a lot. We don't go out and pound the pavement and say, we need vets. That's who we want. We look for every driver who's a good driver, who's a skilled driver. We look for 2 years minimum of experience from all our drivers, at least 6 months in flatbed. We just found that we had a lot of military guys drawn to our business. I think with a lot of guys, for myself, I got into trucking when I got out of the military because honestly, I just wanted to be left alone. I wanted to get on the road and just do my thing. And I think a lot of guys feel that way. And I think we provide and present a good environment for them to do that. The gentlemen who are still veterans that do not drive the military trucks, they all get their branch logo we put on their truck. So it'll still be that Nova Lines gray truck, but they'll have the Army insignia on there, or the Marine Corps insignia, or Navy, so on and so forth, of the branch that they serve for.
Trucking has traditionally provided a soft landing spot for military retirees, and they are fairly sought after because veteran drivers generally have fewer safety violations than civilian drivers and bring a lot of soft skills that are mostly unique to military veterans.
We're proud of all of our drivers, whether they're military or not military. But what I found particularly with the military drivers is you don't get a lot of pushback. If you ask them to do something, there's not a lot of pushback. If we say, hey, we'd really like you to work over this weekend and we can get you home next weekend, they're like, okay, no problem. Whereas you get a little more pushback with the guys who might not be veterans, just kind of like, hey, man, I can't do that. And I guess maybe I just want to say the veterans may be a little more mission oriented for the company. They're willing to go that extra mile in some cases where the other guys won't,
Nova Lines offers all of its veteran drivers a decal to place on each side of their truck, and the company has a few specific military wrap trucks, each piloted by drivers who served in that specific branch. Those trucks are familiar sights at veteran events all over the greater Chicago area, and driving those trucks is considered an honor. And with great honor comes great responsibility.
The guys who do drive the military trucks, they have to understand that, they're working for us. They're a driver force, but part of their job also is to go to military events, and it could be over a weekend, could be a week-long event, and they're off the road. We do compensate them differently because they're not making money on the road, but they usually have no problem with that. They're willing to take those extra days. It's normally their days off and go out and present themselves to the public. They're working trucks, but they do get the benefit of getting a wash whenever they want, and if their trailer gets dinged or something like that, we usually replace the trailer. They have the best equipment we have. We want them to look the best, present the best as well. So we did ours branch specific because not only do we want them to represent their branch, but also Nova Lines. But we also want them to have the history of that branch and know the background of that branch. So when they do go to locations, they can answer questions about the Air Force. They can answer questions about the Navy, Marine Corps. They can talk to another vet about the Sherman tank that's on the Army truck for the history of the Sherman tank in World War II, so on and so forth. So that's why we keep it brand specific. And that's really honestly how we found how big of a veteran base we had is when we started this program. we went out and we had our dispatchers reach out to all our drivers. Hey, if you're a military, throw your hat in this ring. We're going to get some military trucks.
A veteran of the Marine Corps and a 25-year truck driver himself, Chris walks the walk. He says having a formal military recognition program in place has helped raise the carrier's profile as a viable employer for former military. The company is pretty active at veteran events where he says the company gets a lot of inquiries and leads, and those are two fairly inexpensive recruiting tactics that just about any fleet can deploy. But before we hear more from Chris, let's hear from 1044 sponsor, Chevron Lubricants.
Protecting your diesel engine and its after-treatment system has traditionally been a double-edged sword. The same engine oil that is so essential to protecting your engine's internal parts is also responsible for 90% of the ash that is clogging up your DPF and upping your fuel and maintenance costs. Outdated industry thinking still sees a trade-off between engine and emission system protection, and Chevron was tired of it. So they spent a decade of R&D developing a no-compromise formulation. Chevron Lubricants developed a new ultra-low ash diesel engine oil that is specifically designed to combat DPF ash clogging. Delo 600 ADF with OmniMax technology cuts sulfate ash by a whopping 60%, which reduces the rate of DPF clogging and extends DPF service life by 2.5 times. And just think what you can do with all the MPGs you're going to add from cutting your number of regens. But Delo 600 ADF isn't just about after treatment. It provides complete protection, extending drain intervals by preventing oil breakdown. Before you had to choose between protecting your engine or your after treatment system, and now you don't. 600 ADF from Delo with OmniMax technology, it's time to kick some ash.
I don't think we're reinventing the wheel at all. I think we're just trying to be as presentable and upfront with our pride of the military and veterans. I think we get out there a lot. We try to get to as many functions as we can. We don't just limit ourselves to certain functions. We'll pretty much, as long as it's legit foundation or group, we'll go there and present with the trucks and help them raise money for vets and for people coming home. We are trying to work with a program with the Army that we're going to start very soon, which will help even more, which is for people who are joining the reserves or the National Guard. So after they do their training and they go to their school and then they come home to do guard duty, part of their orders is that you're going to report to Nova Lines for a job interview. And as long as they meet our criteria, then we hire them. So they're coming right straight out of the military directly to us. So after they've been trained, so we have a lot of we keep about a 6-month experience base is what we're looking for. But if we have a gentleman or a lady who's been in the military and is hauling an 80,000 pound M1 Abrams tank on a flatbed, we feel pretty comfortable with a little bit of training that they'll be able to haul some coils and some steel bars and product that we haul, whether it's construction or not.
Chris said military veterans often make really good flatbed drivers because so much of what they haul in service is on a flatbed. That experience can expedite training, and in some cases, it can unlock opportunity to join Nova Lines that's not available to civilian applicants.
We know the training that the Army puts them through, or the Marine Corps, the Navy puts them through to get their military CDL, and then on top of that, the job that they do day in and day out. That 88 mic position.
Chris is also a firm believer that if you get a military veteran driver and treat them right, they'll be with you for a long time. Across the entire industry, turnover among veterans is universally lower than it is with non-military.
I can probably count on one hand since I've been here, knowing the drivers that are military or prior service that have left. We seem to retain very well. And I don't know if that's maybe because we're recruiting a little bit of an older veteran. Maybe they've had a job or two before, but I have had both. I've had gentlemen straight out of the service, and I've had gentlemen that have been out for a little while and have had a few jobs. But overall, our retention is good with our military drivers.
Serving tours overseas in hostile territory can change the way you think about a lot of things that many of us take for granted. And Chris says that shows up in former military drivers.
I think they also appreciate it a lot more than a civilian driver would. I think them traveling the world and serving our country in some pretty horrible, harmful places, it makes them respect and understand what they have here, what they have back home. And in some general sense, I've even talked to other vets to say about it that we're so spoiled we don't even realize it sometimes as Americans. I think they get that fact. I think they're happy that they're working for a good company. They're making a good paycheck. And with our civilian drivers turnover, one thing I can say, and I've been in the industry for close to 30 years, I worked at Dunkin' Donuts as their transportation manager, where we're paying guys $35 an hour. And if a guy left there, we never saw him again for some reason here at Nova Lines, if a guy leaves for some reason, we see him back here in a couple of weeks. It's the highest return I've ever seen on drivers that leave. And maybe they thought the grass is green on their side. But back to our vets, I definitely think that they're more appreciative. They're happy where they're working. They're happy for the paycheck. They're used to dealing with things don't always go to plan. I think these guys are used to rolling with that kind of thing. I think the guys completing the job of the day is the most successful thing for them, and us saying, hey, you got it done, good job. Not really even that a boy, but hey, you got it there, you got it on time, no damage, no claims. For them, I think that's the biggest bad. That's the mission accomplished for them. I don't have the direct numbers in front of me, but our military drivers have less claims than our civilian drivers as well. And I think, again, that goes back to attention to detail and taking that extra minute and actually doing a full pre-trip and all that kind of stuff. And I say that as a 25-year driver too, doing a full pre-trip. Sometimes guys just jump in and go, but I found that with our military guys, we have a higher level of success as far as the loads getting there, not only on time, but in one piece and no claims and being picked up properly and stuff like that.
That's it for this week's 1044. You can read more on ccjdigital.com, and as always, you can find the 1044 each week on CCJ's YouTube channel. And if you've got questions, comments, criticisms, or feedback, please hit us up at 1044trucking@gmail.com or give us a call, 404-491-1380. Until next week, everybody stay safe.